welcome everybody. We're pleased to have you here this afternoon. We're really excited about this webinar that's sponsored by our newest power supply manufacturing partner, MORNSUN. I'll introduce myself. My name is Stephen Lagomersino. I'm the president here at TRC Electronics, and I myself have more than 25 years of electronics industry experience specializing in power supplies. And I'd like to introduce you to Jamie Coriano. Jamie, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Thank you for taking the time to join the webinar today. Thank you, TRC, for hosting MORNSUN today. The VP of Sales for North America, which is Canada, United States, and Mexico. And we've been getting a lot of questions lately, which is what prompted this webinar, about how MORNSUN is different and how MORNSUN has been able to deliver product when other people are struggling to deliver. So we thought it was timely to have a webinar to discuss how we're different.
Very good. So for those of you that are new in the audience to TRC Electronics, I'll give you a very brief introduction. TRC Electronics is a wholesale distributor franchise for about a dozen power supply lines. We have been in the business for 40 years and we have a 100% focus on power supplies, and it's our mission to supply businesses in the electronics industry with the power to succeed. As Jamie alluded to, why are we doing this webinar today? Well, this is our newest power supply manufacturer. We wanted to introduce them to the marketplace and to a lot of our clients, our existing clients and our new clients, because if you haven't heard about MORNSUN, you're not familiar with MORNSUN yet, this is a great opportunity, because I can guarantee you in the future, this is going to be a household electronics industry power supply brand name. And the sooner that you learn about them, the sooner that you're going to benefit from the amazing products and the amazing advantages that their power supply, high quality power supply products work. And also, give you an understanding of why we decided to partner with MORNSUN for power supplies. Here at TRC Electronics, we are extremely selective about the manufacturers that we partner with. These manufacturers need to be high quality. They need to be aligned with making a positive impact with our clients in the marketplace. And they will also have to be able to provide excellent products and services. So we're really excited about this here today. I wanted to just mention a couple things here. We will be providing an amazing MORNSUN discount promotional offer during this webinar. So I really encourage you to pay attention later on. We're going to be making that offer. This is an exclusive offer at TRC Electronics, sponsored by MORNSUN, and I'm really excited about sharing it with you today. And we're also going to give you a nice overview of MORNSUN and give you the opportunity, if anybody has any questions and would like some additional information, so you can gain the confidence of using MORNSUN products when you're partnering with TRC Electronics. So Jamie's got a really great presentation that we're going to go through, and we're going to give you a real great overview of the capabilities of MORNSUN and why they are the up-and-coming power supply manufacturer that you need to be paying attention to. So you ready to go, Jamie?
Let's go. Let's do this.
Let's go.
All right. So what we mentioned earlier, we thought this webinar was timely because I've been getting the question over and over and over, how come MORNSUN can do things that other people cannot? So hopefully by the end of the webinar, you have a better idea of who we are, what we do, and how we're different. So most of you perhaps have not heard about MORNSUN, but MORNSUN has been around since 1998. One of the things, again, that makes us different is the amount of R&D engineers we have. So when you look at 600 plus engineers, it's not just engineers, it's R&D engineers. So this allows us the fast rate of growth that we've been experiencing, which right now we're at a 60% yearly rate. And it allows us to deploy a lot of new products. We deployed about 1,000 new part numbers just last year. And when you combine those factors together, you realize we're a pretty big company. And as a matter of fact, we're number 16 in the world in power supply. And when you consider that a lot of our competitors make products that we don't make, that's actually even more impressive. The buildings you see on the screen, these are all owned by MORNSUN. Some of them may be renderings, but these are real buildings, and they're all owned by MORNSUN, which again is part of our manufacturing strength.
So Jamie, I have a question here before you move forward. So,
sure.
So MORNSUN was established in 1998. Can you talk a little bit about the transition in terms of where now MORNSUN is becoming a little bit more well-known here? It's been 24 years. And now MORNSUN's really making a splash in the marketplace with their brand name.
Yeah, one of the things we did initially is that we offer a lot of products through private label. So a lot of you out there may have used our product, not even realize you were using a MORNSUN product. But in the last many years, we've started to focus more on growing the brand name. And yes, we still have partners that we work very closely with, and we appreciate the business that we do through those clients. But at the same time, we want people to know MORNSUN as a brand name and become more acquainted to who we are and what we do.
Great.
So the vertical integration is really what allows us to be different in many regards. So if you look at these 4 categories, this is where most of the difference, this is how we make the difference in terms of our products. So we manufacture our own transformers. And for a lot of power supplies, a transformer is the key component in terms of getting the performance, getting the sizing, getting the structures right within the power supply. And those are all built at MORNSUN facilities. At the same time, we started making integrated circuits years ago because, again, we wanted to differentiate our product. We want to have control over the supply chain. So if you control the integrated circuit, then you control the specs, then you control your lead time, you control your cost, and you can also differentiate your product. So for instance, if you have a number of power supply companies designing using the same IC from the same manufacturer, then the specs tend to all end up in the same place because everybody's using the same chip for the power supply. But when we use our own chip, then we can emphasize certain areas or certain specs that we feel are important for the customer, and we can differentiate our product, we can make our products better. Now, about 70% of our products right now use MORNSUN's own ICs. The basic topology we use is switching power supply, and we have a lot of patents behind the switching power supplies, which again may surprise a lot of you that MORNSUN has close to 1,000, if not 1,000 plus patents in a lot of the products that we're manufacturing today. And in terms of manufacturing, we'll talk about it later, but again, everything that I show you today, it is designed by MORNSUN engineers, it's made at MORNSUN factories by MORNSUN employees. So let's talk first about the ICs. As I mentioned earlier, this is the key component along with the transformer on the power supply, which we control. So, of course, supply chain is, as the name implies, is a chain. So if you cannot get your IC, you can't deliver your power supply. But because we make our own and we reserve most of these for internal use, we can have short lead times, we can have availability, we can have stock when other people have to quote you 52 weeks. This is key to our differentiator right now. And again, I get asked all the time, how can you do what you're doing? Well, this is one way we can do it. We make the transformer, but we also make the IC, and the IC being the key called building block that a lot of our competitors do not make. They have to rely on third parties, and this is how we can mitigate the risk, we can control our supply chain, and we can lower the lead time.
So would you say, Jamie, that this is one of the big differentiating factors between MORNSUN and your typical power supply manufacturer right now?
Absolutely. We control our own destiny, we can control our own specs, and we can differentiate our product by doing this.
So in terms of the lead time challenges that we're facing in the marketplace right now, the one component that's most commonly an obstacle to delivering sooner is the IC from a power supply manufacturer standpoint.
Absolutely. The long pole in the tent, as they say, is the integrated circuit.
Right, and then here's a big differentiator, and this is really, while this may not have been such a major factor in previous years, but with the supply chain disruptions and also seeing vulnerabilities that could potentially exist in supply chain disruptions, this has turned into an amazing strength that you've been able to leverage in the marketplace, especially the past couple of years.
And this is by design. We didn't foresee necessarily 5, 6, 7 years ago the supply chain issues that are happening right now. But what we really wanted to do was to differentiate our product. We want to not come to market with Me Too products, but bring something better to the market, bring something with better costing to the market. It just so happens that the supply chain issues of today have really helped us reinforce what we did by going into the IC manufacturing. Now we have another benefit that honestly we didn't expect years ago, which is the fact that we can control the lead time on the product. So,
and what they predict in the marketplace for ICs to come back to normal lead times, they're looking at another couple of years. Is that the prediction?
Well, what I heard from Intel CEO is 2 years before it's back to normal. But
right.
Jury's still out whether that's accurate or not.
Right, and then even when it does come back to normal, I think another important factor here is that, well, this is a situation that could potentially happen again. and you have peace of mind knowing that, okay, that you're not vulnerable with this particular power supply manufacturer with ICs because you guys are self-dependent on it and with 70% of your products, correct?
That's correct. And there is a hidden benefit to using MORNSUN's on IC, which is, some of our competitors may be using the same basic IC. So if you're as a customer have 2 or 3 sources, let's say, and 2 of those sources are using the same chip, and we're not, guess what's going to happen when that chip goes in a shortage situation? The other 2 suppliers are going to have the same problem. Okay, but if you're using a MORNSUN power supply with our own chip, then you can mitigate that risk.
That's great. Hey, Lloyd Wright has a good question. We're going to ask you to unmute, Lloyd. If you
I'm unmuted. You should be able to see me. I can see myself. So.
There you go. I see you good. Thanks, buddy. How you doing today, Lloyd?
I'm good, except desperate for power supplies.
Okay.
So
I think you came to the right place.
But as I've mentioned before, though, of course, we have to redo CE testing. And, each power supply change costs us about $20,000 in testing costs alone. So it's non-trivial. But can I assume that you don't make passive components and that, or MOSFETs or voltage regulators or optical isolators or all those other components that have really long lead times right now?
Well, we have some signal isolators and we make some switching regulators as well some are available to the outside world, some are not. In terms of raw materials, R's and C's and other things, we prepare very well. We had the benefit of seeing lead times go out before it affected us. So we gather a lot of raw materials before it was popular to have a lot of raw materials. So we, in a way, prepared, and in a way, we got lucky and the market kind of came to us.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Lloyd?
Sort of. Because we buy a lot of electronics. We build our own printed circuit boards for our products, and we buy a lot. We've had to buy 1 to 2 years supply of things, as you probably have too.
Yeah, and again, we prepare with a lot of raw materials when we saw it coming. One of the advantages, in a funny way, of not being as well known as others is that they're going to run out of parts before we run out of parts. So we have the benefit of weeks, if not months, of preparation, of seeing it coming and then prepare for it. So like I said, some of it is what we were doing anyway, and some of it's a little bit of luck, and some of it is the market helping us out. So we have some challenges, but our challenges are small compared to what you're seeing from the competition. You'll see in another slide where our worst case lead time right now is 12 weeks on any product. And some products are only 4 to 6 or 6 to 8. So yeah, we're not without challenges, but we have been able to overcome.
And where do you manufacture?
Everything is manufactured in China, and southern China in the Guangzhou city region, and Huaihua, which is inland China, about 5 hours by high-speed train from the Hong Kong border, if you can visualize that.
Okay, because obviously the next problem is shipping and tariffs and lockdowns in China, right?
Well, I'm glad you're bringing that up. The shipping issues or on the seaports, particularly in Shanghai region, we ship everything from out of Hong Kong. So as long as Hong Kong is not shut down, shipping-wise, we're fine. A lot of our products ship by air. Some of the larger, heavier items go by sea, but for the most part, shipping hasn't been an issue to us yet. COVID lockdowns have not been an issue, and I hope that remains. But again, the regions that we manufacture in and how we ship, we've been fortunate because just as easily could have been reversed. But as of right now, those are not issues for MORNSUN.
Okay.
Good questions. Thank you.
And Lloyd, this is why we partnered with them, because we were seeing the challenges, 2 things: inflation. For us, the producer CPI, which is what you guys deal with, has been double digits for 11 straight months, year over year, and it's 11% right now. They've been doing a great job of controlling the cost pressures, and also their lead times, which we're going to show you the contrast to other power supply manufacturers in the market, are just unbeatable right now. And this is why we brought this to our clients, because we saw this is what is really in need right now, a solution where we can pivot. And we also would analyze. What we would do is look at your systems and look over the lifespan of your system and what the savings is for that solution versus what you're using, and does that 20K investment of recertification make sense? And that's where you have to do an analysis of it, and that's what we've been doing for a lot of clients. Thanks for the questions, Lloyd. I really appreciate it. And also, hey, I think Roy's got a question too. He's got a good question about warranty. Can we just ask Roy to unmute real fast, and we can get him that information that he's looking for? I know he wants a mug too. We'll get you that mug, Roy.
Okay. We'll ship it with his next
Yeah,
PO.
Roy, we'll put it in a box with the big power supply order you're going to send us. Okay, Roy, we clicked ask to unmute, so if you could unmute yourself. I'm working remote in this field, so can't unmute. Okay, no problem. So here's Roy's question.
So what is the question? Yes.
His question is, do you have any products that have extended warranties, such as 7 to 10 years?
Yeah, right now most products are going to have 3-year warranty. Some have 5-year warranty. So we don't have anything with a 7 to 10 year period of time, but that's something we can work with. Usually the long pole in the tent is the capacitor. And if we know that we're going to have, you're looking for a longer extended period of time, we can sit together with our engineers and figure out, is this something we can offer you for the given power supply you're looking for?
Okay, so Roy, what we do is we work on your specific application and case, and that we can propose it to the factory and see if it's something that we can extend the warranty. So you see his type of caps in your design?
No talums, no.
Okay. All right, very good.
Stephen, we had a direct follow-up question here. You guys mentioned lead times. Your longest lead time production right now is 12 weeks. Is that related, Jamie, to a specific product category?
We're going to share that in a couple minutes. That's a great question, and we're going to answer that in one of the coming slides here, okay?
Yeah, we're a couple slides away from that one.
Very good question, though. We love it. Okay, Jamie.
Okay, so we already talked about the ICs. So, okay, so I mentioned this already, but I want to point one thing out of this slide. 15% of our revenue is reinvested in R&D. And what you will see when we get to the product discussion is that's what allows us to introduce 1,000 plus new products along with the 600 plus R&D engineers. There was a question about the cost of certification on the customer side. I also want Lloyd specifically to be aware we have our own UL certification lab on premises. This is not common in China, and it affords us the ability to basically test out the product in-house and then send a report to UL for certification. Of course, they still want their 20 grand to grant that certification, but we have the ability to do our own testing, which can expedite the UL process. All of our power supplies are designed to meet UL. Most have UL certification, but some voltages, some different versions of our products may not have the certificate, but we can always get it because they're all designed to meet it. So we can work with you on the specific product if it happened that it didn't have it to get certified. But most of the products that you will see from our product line already have UL certification. You don't have to worry about it.
That's a good point. Can I just ask you something, Jamie, here?
Yes.
So when majority of the products that you see TRC promoting, they're all going to have UL certification, but there's some voltages that are less common and they potentially that we're not promoting, but you might find or we might propose might not currently have the certification, the safety certification, but they've been designed to meet it, and getting that safety certification is not an obstacle. And the time frame, if we have a client that's looking at a particular model that we maybe didn't certify, but it's going to pass, what's the timetable on that once we move forward?
Typically, from our end, it's just a few weeks, maybe a month, and then we have to add some time for UL to receive the report and certify it. But we don't have to wait their entire lead time for UL to get a product certified. And by the way, TRC has a lot of expertise in-house about UL, far more expertise than I have myself, and they can help you navigate through those waters in terms of making sure the product has the correct certifications for your application.
Okay, that's great. Good.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier about the production facilities, and the rendering you see here is the Huaihua facility. It's the one that I mentioned. It's about 5 hours from via high-speed train from Hong Kong. The buildings on the top that say in production, I've actually been to those buildings. Believe me, they're real. They're very real. And across the street from that, where you see the other 3 buildings, one that says in production 2024, 2026, When I was there in 2019, that was basically greenfield. So today, the building that is in production is actually online, and the other ones are coming soon to a theater near you. So we have ample capacity, and we continue to expand. The other thing we're doing that makes us a little bit different is we use 70% automation in our facilities. So certainly that helps us with costing, but more importantly, it helps you with consistent, reliable product. Obviously, the less hands that touch a product, the more reliable it's going to be. So, and a lot of this equipment we develop in-house, and we have a lot of capability when it comes to manufacturing at all of our different facilities.
Can you talk a little bit about how that automation is also giving you a cost advantage in the marketplace? Because a lot of power supply manufacturers are trying to transition into this and become more automated, but you guys are really 70% automation. You're on the front end of that, and it's benefiting the cost for the clients.
Yeah, certainly the obvious cost is it's labor. So if you can reduce the amount of labor that you have to utilize to build a set of power supplies, so that saves you money there. But we also see it as a way to improve the product reliability, long-term reliability of the product, and the consistency and the quality. We want to make sure that the power supply you're buying today or you buy 5 years from now has the same level of quality and reliability. And reducing labor and reducing humans in the process makes it easier. And of course, we have situations in China perhaps when there is a long holiday where a lot of people experience a lot of turnover in their labor force. We typically experience very low turnover rate, and at the same time, we're not using as many people, as many persons per power supply, which means that we can be more efficient.
So it's interesting because what we see in the marketplace in our clients is a lot of innovation to reduce the dependence on human interaction with different types of jobs and functions, but the power supply manufacturers are innovating in the same way.
So this is the lead time slide, and I think I'm going to dwell here a little time because I think this is what everybody's interested in.
Yeah.
So as you can see here, if you look at our AC to DC enclosed, which is very popular right now, the AC to DC open frame, AC to DC encapsulated, basically the three products to the left of your screen, those are most of the applications we're seeing right now, most of the issues that people are having in terms of delivery, and we're in a really good position, and even with samples. So when we say 5 to 8 weeks or 8 to 10 or 10 to 12, we're talking about production lead times, high volume lead times. If you just need a few hundred, or if you need 5 or 10 or 2 for qualification, we can come up with those fairly quick, ship them by air, and you can be on the way to solving your problem pretty quickly. Now, I do understand on the AC to DC side specifically, you may have to go for recertification and you need to do other things to be able to second source the product. But certainly when you're comparing 10 to 12 versus 50 weeks, 60 weeks, 100 weeks, you certainly have the time and opportunity to do that. And again, hopefully by the time you see the slide, you realize all the reasons why we're able to offer you this. And it's not just us telling you that we can ship something, we have reasons why we can.
Yeah, I think that this gives a lot of contrast of what MORNSUN's delivering right now and what the industry standards are. So we represent several other power supply manufacturers. We're familiar with the other power supply manufacturers that are in the marketplace. And MORNSUN's, when you compare MORNSUN to the other power supply manufacturers in the marketplace, you're looking at a 7x to 10x increase in a factor in the lead time. So this is all real. We vetted this as an organization here. We made sure that this was real and 100%. This is the deal, and this is where we're finding great opportunities, because in some cases, if you have to wait 2 years just to manufacture a power supply, there are very few applications that you can live with that, especially if it's a new design and you need to get it to the marketplace and you have a timeline. It's just not possible. So we've been having a lot of success with helping clients take a look at, even with existing designs, what they're currently using and transitioning them. And you're talking about a 90% reduction in lead time. It's just tremendous. So this has really been impressive, and this is something that's really, a lot of our clients, existing clients, are beginning to benefit from this, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, and one thing that you may be wondering is, are these industry standard sizes and footprints, yes, we're for the most part offering industry standard footprints, sizes, so you can quickly second source and replace the existing power supply with ours. Yes, there are cases where the other suppliers use different footprints or scenarios like that, but by and large, most of the products we're offering are industry standard footprints.
Right. I think that's a great point because you got two obstacles to redesign something out typically. The two biggest are mechanical, because now all of a sudden I've got to change the mechanical layout and it doesn't fit in, or whether I have any kind of metal or mounting. And secondly is safety certifications, which Lloyd mentioned earlier. And what MORNSUN did here was really well is that they have industry standard footprints where there is such thing as industry standard footprints, especially with their AC/DC enclosed, the open frame. They're doing a typical industry standard 3x5s, your 2x4s, 4x6s, and the AC/DC encapsulated, having similar pinouts to what's common in the industry, so that you can make that switch and not have an obstacle with your mechanical requirements.
Okay, so we're going to start going.
I have a follow-up question here. It's
Go ahead,
Melissa
Melissa.
here again. Great, you answered that question about the product category. The follow-up question is, would it be safe to assume that the items that have that longer lead time, the 8 to 10 or 10 to 12, they are the products that you do not develop the ICs for?
It could be in some cases, but not always. There might be a different item that is the gating item in that particular power supply. But yeah, chances are that maybe it is that product that we don't have the IC for, but it could also be a different item. It could be a FET, for example, that it's causing the problem. It's a good question.
Thank you.
Lloyd has a question with regards to capacity. We're nowhere near full capacity yet. It's basically, we're limited by how many people want to buy the product right now. And that's why the raw material hasn't become the limiting factor yet. So we still have capacity.
That's great. Yeah, where there are other power supply manufacturers that it's not only material, but it's also capacity, manufacturing capacity has been exceeded as well.
Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the power line. And those of you that perhaps knew MORNSUN 5 years ago and now are becoming aware of MORNSUN once again, you would have realized when you look at this slide, about half the products, or at least half the power levels that are offered today were not offered just 2 or 3 years ago. So just to give you for instance, on the small encapsulated product, we only used to go from 3 to 60 watts. And at that time, it wasn't footprint compatible with the most popular competitor out there. Today, we go to 90 watts and we have a drop-in replacement, better performing, less costly part. So in a way, we leapfrogged what was in the market with this product line. We did the same thing with the high power density open frame, which again, we didn't have anything beyond 45 watts. Now we go all the way to 550 watts, and we can even offer medical certifications on that product line. And the enclosed, it's another one where we only went to 320 watts just 2 years ago, and today we're introducing products in the 1,000 watt and 1,500 watt range. Not to mention all the other DC to DC converters we offer with high isolation voltages, and even serial transceiver products, CAN 485, etc. So one of the ways that MORNSUN has increased their revenue and has increased their size is by introducing a lot of new products, and that's where you see the difference today. Okay, so it's a different way to illustrate the same thing that I mentioned earlier, where we had a limited capability or product lineup when it came to these types of product lines. So everything you see in red has been introduced over the last year or year and a half. Everything in blue is what we used to have. So you can see that we're releasing a significant amount of products every year, and we will continue to do so in the foreseeable future. Similar information in DC to DC conversion. So some of you might not know, but MORNSUN is one of the largest DC to DC manufacturers in China, period. Some might argue they're number one in China for DC to DC conversion. Most of the conversation so far has been in the AC to DC space, but this is another area of the market where MORNSUN is dominant, not only in China, and it's basically expanding their dominance outside of China. And again, you can see a lot of new products being released, higher voltages, and different product categories. We'll talk later about photovoltaic, with the first category in the top because it illustrates our capacity for innovation or the ability to innovate. But we have products for railway communication and all kinds of different applications.
I think we got a couple good questions here. Let's see here. So Roy had another question that was good. He says, on the high voltage input products, what kind of output wattage are we talking about? So I'm assuming you're meaning, are you talking about AC? Are you referring to AC/DC or DC/DC, Roy? If you could type it in there. But
I think I can answer the question. If you're talking AC to DC, we have products that are go all the way to 528 VAC input. Those products typically will have 48, 24, 15, 12, 9, 5 outputs. On the DC to DC side, the PV series you see on the top, that series can handle up to 1500 volts DC input, and the typical output would be 48, 24, 15, 12, 9, and 5. Some of the lower power levels would be 3.3 volt outputs. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple slides.
And it goes up to 1,000 watts, right? So the wattage.
Yeah, in terms of power, we go all the way to 1,000 watts.
I go up to 1,500 volts. Yeah, okay, we got it, Roy. So that's that PV product, and we're going to get into a little more details of it, but it's up to 1,000 watts. And Lloyd has a question, what reliability testing has Mornsun performed on products that were released in 2022 prior to release?
Well, they do a live test on everything, and all of the AC to DCs go through 24-hour burning and sometimes longer depending on the customer request. I'm not a reliability expert in terms of the testing that we do. We'd be glad to get offline with you and get you that information. But certainly everything goes through a significant amount of testing before it's released. Okay, so in terms of applications, really, I tell my distributors, my sales rep, my customers, it's everything, right? Everything needs power. Mornsun has a pretty wide range of products from sub 1 watt all the way to 1,000, 1,500 watts, different voltage ranges, input voltage range, different surge, different isolation voltages. So just about anything, it's an application. Today we'll talk more about some of the innovation in the EV and green energy space. But basically, any of you that are listening right now can probably use a Mornsun product somewhere in your system.
Okay, so here's the great news, guys. Here's the big promo offer that we're offering to everybody on the webinar here today. So this is an exclusive offer, and it's limited time. It expires end of business day, June 3rd. But any new Mornsun orders that are placed with TRC Electronics, we're offering a 15% discount off of any normal price we would quote you or have already quoted you. In order to take advantage of this amazing offer, just call in to our main office here. We have the telephone number there, or you could chat in the. You could put something in the chat and ask a salesperson. We have a couple salespeople on the meeting, and they can contact you. You mentioned the promo code MORNSUN15, and we'll take 15% off of the sales order. And it's limited to the Mornsun products off of whatever our normal price that we quoted you or that we're listing on a website. So this is an amazing offer. We want to, we want to reward everybody who took some time invested to learn a little bit more. And this is sponsored by Mornsun, and we wanted to give back to you guys a little bit. So amazing offer, 15% off. Call in at 888-612-9514. But remember, this offer expires end of business day on June 3rd. Okay, very good, guys. All right, so next section of this presentation that Jamie's going to do, we want to demonstrate some of the innovative capabilities of Mornsun. This is not just like an AC/DC power supply in China, and all they can do is just design and manufacture your very basic AC/DC power supplies. They've got a lot of really amazing, talented engineers there, and we're going to demonstrate here like some of the innovations that they've been producing here in the marketplace.
Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the problem we're trying to solve in this particular system, because understanding the problem gives you better appreciation for how we solve the problem. So when somebody's trying to build a solar tracker, they have three basic ways to get power to that solar tracker. They either use AC to DC that they have to bring in from a long distance, which is obviously costly. They have to have a dedicated solar panel that uses up space, which reduces available output for the user to power the electronics, or they can use our product in a way that I will explain. So this is your typical scenario when you're talking about a solar farm. You have solar trackers, you have combiner boxes, inverters, etc. So the first problem we're going to talk about is the tracking system. So the way we solve the problem, and we had a customer come to us with this problem, is they want to be able to power the electronics 24 volts, let's say, directly from the string voltage, which today it's 1500 volts. Initially, when we started this development, it was 1000 volts. So the original device we designed here was a 200 to 1200 volts DC input unit at about 40 watts. That's what the customer was looking for. Today, you will see in a couple of slides, this has grown into third generation products up to 1000 watts, 1500 volts DC. So again, you look at this product and you realize it takes a lot of expertise to design such a product. You're gonna have a hard time, if you can even find it, finding any other power supply company that makes anything like this. So it's really left up to the customer to either have a very complex design or solve the problem some other way, or they have to design kind of what we did, and it becomes very difficult, expensive, and time consuming. Because again, part of the expertise of the secret sauce in this type of a design is a transformer, which we make ourselves. So that, again, that shows you how we can use our innovation to solve problems. Here is a different problem in a combiner box, similar problem, right? You're taking the high voltage line from the solar panels directly into the combiner, and you're stepping that down to 24 volts. And by the way, there are a handful of other products in the DC to DC area that we can offer you as well to help give you a complete solution to solve this problem. So again, if customer has to design that function, it's very difficult, very costly. So what I alluded to earlier, the original product was a PV4027B that you see on the second from the top on the left-hand side. This was the original product that we designed for this. We've expanded the input range. We've expanded in terms of temperature, performance, certifications, and now up to the point where you see on the top right, we have an R3 version, which is generation 3 of this product line. Now, when I talk to marketing at MORNSUN, sometimes I have this kind of a conversation with them. They call this the photovoltaic product line. But reality is the product doesn't care where the DC voltage is coming from. So we see applications like IGBTs or even silicon carbide or some other types of products that have nothing to do with solar, but have a high working voltage, 1000, 1200 volts, and they're looking for an easy way to power electronics at 24 volts, let's say. So this is a great product to fulfill that need. So even though it's called photovoltaic, it could apply to a number of other applications. So we're going to talk a little bit about EV charging and how we're helping to solve this particular problem. And typically you're going to have three types of chargers. The AC level 1, which is what you get free if you're buying an electric vehicle, very portable, doesn't provide a lot of power and takes a long time to charge a car. Level 2, which is more sophisticated, more power, but it's still not as fast as a DC fast charger. And for all of these types of requirements, we have products. So one product we have not talked about yet is this LS product line. But again, it's a good example of innovation. You're going to find a lot of companies building a module like this. You can see how small it is, but if you had it in front of you, you realize how really small it is. And the secret sauce behind this product is a transformer. The ability to make that transformer perform in such a small space is what makes this product unique. So it also makes it extremely cost effective. So if you as a designer decided you wanted to go perform this function or design it, you probably find out that your design would cost you more than what we're selling as a complete module that is already UL certified. Needless to say, if you design your own, now you have to go get it certified. That's the other problem. But again, here's a unique product that is enabled by the technology that we develop in-house. Similar product in terms of an AC charger, but in this case, it's an AC input. The LDR2 series is the encapsulated that I alluded to earlier, that initially our initial offering wasn't pin compatible with a popular version out in the marketplace. And we realized that that wasn't the best way to market. So we redesigned it. We made it better in terms of specs, and we made it less costly. So you have a pin-for-pin replacement to popular options with a short lead time that costs less money and performs better. I think even I can sell that. Yeah, I think Lloyd had a question. I saw some questions
Yeah,
on the screen.
Lloyd asked if MORNSUN can make products that have an output voltage range from like 0 to 24 or 0 to 48 volts, variable output. Do you guys have
We have some products that have variable output. I'm not sure that we have anything that can go as wide as an output. So I would have to investigate if we have anything in the works that may do what you want, Lloyd. So if you can send in a detail, some details on what you're trying to do.
Yeah, we could schedule a call with him.
Oh, you're trying to do, this is for control purposes. We do have some products for that. It's in the signal category of our website. They're not featured on this presentation. But yes, I know what you're talking about now. The 0 to 20 milliamp, 0 to 24 volt controls for, where you're communicating with sensors, etc. Yes, we have a complete product line for that. Good question, thank you. Okay, so here's another example. This one is the DC fast charger. And again, similar value proposition, but here we're showing the DIN rail products. DIN rail is, again, an area where we've expanded significantly. We have products now that have 5-year warranties, that are feature explosion-proof certifications, that have basically better specs than what's out there, and it's still very cost competitive. Here you also need transceivers, so we have CAN transceivers, RS-485. So if there was a slide that showed you all the different capabilities that MORNSUN has on one slide, here's a pretty good example of all the different things we can do. And last but not least, we have DC to DC converters with high isolation intended for silicon carbide, gallium nitride, or some other high voltage applications in gate driving, etc. So again, the secret sauce in those products is the isolation, which is transformer-based isolation, which, as I alluded to earlier, is part of our expertise. So when you start, at 1500 volt isolation or 3000 volt isolation, you have a lot of suppliers that are very capable of doing that. The products we're talking about are 6000 volt isolation and higher. And at that point, the amount of suppliers that can actually deliver a product like that are limited. So, and we're certainly one of them. So, graph of all the products I discussed, so I'm not necessarily going to go through this graph again, but again, if you're new to MORNSUN and you're trying to figure out where do they fit, what can they do for me, we can do a lot of things for you. We can solve a lot of problems for you. And this is just an example of what we bring to bear in terms of innovation and how building your own transformer, building your own ICs allows you to innovate and to offer a broader product line for the customer. Okay, so here's an energy power system, and of course we're worried about the performance at high voltages. We're worried about reliability. Here's where I think it was Ray or Roy that asked the question about the high input DC voltage, where these products are featured. So again, by having the wide input range, we allow the customers to simplify their design, save on cost, be more reliable, and basically buy an off-the-shelf solution to solve a very difficult problem. So I'm not going to go through this block diagram, but again, we have the PV series that we can offer here, all the DC to DC converters, the switching regulators, the non-isolated, and we also have some isolated products to offer. So just a little bit of everything that MORNSUN offers can be used in an application like this. Similar application, again, all the building blocks in green we can supply, as well as the 485 and the CAN. So we're, again, another example of innovation and what we can offer in terms of products. So here we're at the H0505. This is the product I was alluding to, that it's 6 kV isolation, reinforced insulation, medical grade, where you only have perhaps 2 other suppliers that can even ship a product like this. And those 2 other suppliers tend to be very costly, and their lead times, are pretty extended. So if you're out there looking for a 6 kV isolation DC to DC converter, we have a series of products we can solve your problem with. Okay.
Very good.
More questions.
Well, that's amazing. That's a great presentation. Really gives us a great overview, and we have some amazing questions. Let's just see. We have a few more minutes left here that we've got scheduled, and we'd love to, hear any additional questions that anybody had. I know Lloyd was looking for a little bit of clarification here on the 0 to 24 volts. He was saying he was looking to control up to 600 watts.
Yeah, Lloyd, I need to look into that. I don't know what I would offer you right now. So let me take that back and get back to you through TRC with an answer.
Yeah, possibility, but we could take a look at it. All right, Melissa, we got any other questions or anything that popped up that you saw?
Yeah, I had some direct questions here. So Jamie, you guys talked about the new product that was released in 2022. How often does MORNSUN release new product? Is it on a yearly, a quarterly basis?
Our plan is to release 1,000 new products every year. We started last year with 1,000 products. We're going to do that same in 2022. We have a lot of products that are not reflected on our product line right now. So expect a lot of new products, completely new. At the same time, we're expanding existing product lines with higher power options and higher voltage options and maybe multiple outputs. So it's a combination of completely new products that we've never offered before and enhancements to existing products.
I have a question. The DC-to-DC converter success at MORNSUN, what would you attribute to that? What's their advantage in the marketplace with the DC-to-DC converters? Because we have a lot of clients that will, they'll build their own DC-to-DC converters in their design, and they're not even going to consider a manufacturer. What would you attribute the success to the DC-to-DC converter success at MORNSUN?
Well, I think we've been in the industry a little too long, I think, but if you go back 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, if you talk to a designer about a DC-to-DC circuit, the consensus was if I'm going to build some type of high volume, if I build my own, if I design my own, I can save money. Today, that's not the case. Actually, it hasn't been the case for a long time. So one of the reasons why our products are successful, it's costing. When you look at what we can offer in a DC-to-DC converter, sometimes it challenges the cost of the chip you have to buy before you even design it. So if I can beat your component cost and give you something that's already done, that's pretty easy to see why it would be popular. We can produce them in very high volume, which again keeps the cost low. If you are designing something that requires isolation, we have expertise in the transformer design, so that's one less thing you have to worry about. So I think what's happened in the last many years is that the cost of the module has come down, at least from MORNSUN, to the point where a lot of times it doesn't make sense to design your own, even if you're buying 1 million of them. We have some products that are extremely cost competitive, at 1 million pieces, where in the past, somebody building something more than 50,000 units would say, no, I'm not buying a module, it's too costly. The other thing, in some of our higher power modules, say 10 watts, 20 watts, 30 watts, high power being a relative term, those modules are bulletproof. They have overcurrent protection, short circuit protection. People have tried to break them, they can't do it. And I had a funny story with a customer in Colombia that said, I switched to the MORNSUN power supplies and now I don't have any failures, but the problem that I have is nobody calls me for replacements because they don't break anymore. Right. So the product's bulletproof. It's extremely cost competitive, even compared to others. On the switching regulator one, the non-isolated, I've had a meeting with a customer where they said, well, yeah, I've seen that product before from your competitor and they're just too expensive. And they're like, well, how much is their competitor's price? And there's like, it's $4. And like, well, mine is $1. And his whole perspective changed, right? So, some of these older notions, and I do understand there are some cases where you're gonna wanna control that DC-to-DC circuit because it's key to the success in your program or it's part of your secret sauce, that's fine. But if designing a DC-to-DC circuit, it's not what you do, it's not what's the important thing in your system, I would think it'd probably be a good idea for you to take a look at some of our modules.
I got a tough question for you.
You mean that wasn't a tough one?
No, I got a tougher one. Okay. So I know that you might not be able to share too much, but what can you share with the audience in terms of well-known global type of OEM customers that MORNSUN's done business with, and what can you share in terms of those household names where you've had success and they've trusted your brand and had success with you?
So I may not be able to drop names exactly.
Okay.
Like on the PV series, for example, think of all the major solar combiners, solar tracker companies. I'll drop a couple names. SunPower is one, let's say. Companies like that here, companies like that in Europe. In that marketplace, Europe is a little bit ahead of us in terms of deployment. So a lot of our tier 1 installations have been in Europe first, and now they're moving to the US. But we have a number of tier 1 companies all over the world, you know, Siemens, GE, etc. So even with some companies that you might not think about, like Qualcomm. So MORNSUN has no shortage of tier 1 customers, if that's your question.
That's great. That's good.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we had a couple other questions here. You were talking about failure rate. Does MORNSUN have a failure rate parts per million or a?
It's usually what we spec on the data sheets is MTBF. In terms of specific parts per million failure rate, that would be by product type. So if it's a specific product type that the customer is interested in, we can go find out and provide that information.
That's great.
Excellent. You also, I have two follow-up questions when you were talking about cost. What would, do you anticipate the cost increasing over the next year or so? And what would contribute to that cost increase on product?
Well, raw material, that's the primary source of cost increases, and the shipping cost being another one. In terms of what I anticipate, I think through this whole thing, we may have seen a 5 to 10% increase. That's it. When you consider that we were already significantly less than a lot of people, if you had not quoted MORNSUN before, you probably think that the pricing is excellent because we were always less expensive than most anyway. So I didn't really harp too much on cost because I think availability is really what people are interested in, and performance and the reliability of the solution if you don't know MORNSUN. But our costing is world-class. We usually do not lose on cost.
And then the other question was related to lead times. Specifically, you mentioned that MORNSUN was able to secure all this raw material in advance, especially prior to COVID. What is MORNSUN doing now for the next 12, 24, and 36 months for raw material?
Well, we're still in good shape today, and we continue to monitor that and get more product in as aggressively as we can. But we have a lot of runway before we run out. But we're also looking at alternate sourcing on some components if we have a particular product series that could experience a shortage coming up. So we're preparing for that. If we are going to change anything on a power supply, we offer a PCN to the customer, and we make them aware before we make the change in case they need to do additional qualification testing, or maybe they're not allowed to do it and we have to support them with the existing product. So we do what we can to mitigate that risk on our end, and that may be offering you the same product with a couple component changes, or securing the existing product so that you can get through the rough patch until the material availability improves again.
All right, excellent. All right, well, if we have no more questions here, we just want to thank everybody for joining us today. Don't forget we have that promo code MORNSUN 15% discount that is good until end of business day, June 3rd, correct? June 3rd is the right date? Okay, and it's a Friday, June 3rd. And I just want to thank Jamie for joining us here at TRC headquarters. This is a new partner of TRC Electronics, and we're really proud to join with them. And anybody that wants more information, please give us a call, contact your sales representative here, and we'll definitely give you more information and take a look at your designs, existing and new designs, to make sure that you guys are getting the best power supply deals and you have the best solution. Because for us, we want to make sure that you're winning in the marketplace. That's why we exist. Jamie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. But you don't get off that easily. I have a question for you.
All right, let's go.
What are you doing in terms of inventory for MORNSUN products?
Very good. That's right. So that's good. So we made sure that we had inventory here. So all the models that you see promoted on our website, we have full inventory here. So we're ready to ship. So we showed you the lead times. That's if we run out of inventory in our warehouse. So we are fully stocked with the products here, MORNSUN's products. We're ready to ship, so that's a great thing. Also for get you your prototypes, free samples on new designs or existing designs where you're considering a MORNSUN product. We could ship it same day that we're working with your engineering team. So we're fully stocked here. We made an investment with MORNSUN and we're really excited about it.
Okay, now you're off the hook.
All right, very good.
So thanks for having me.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
MORNSUN Science and Technology Company is moving towards modernization and intelligent factories. There are 14 workshops with hundreds of production lines with full capacity, along with high-speed operation of equipment in MORNSUN's Haiwa factory. MORNSUN's products are mainly used in medical, energy, intelligent transportation, smart cities, and more. Orders so far this year have exceeded $46 million.
Actually, our original aspiration of investment in Huihua has been achieved, which is beyond our expectation, but within the range of expectation.
MORNSUN's chairman, Mr. Yin Xingyang, is from Haiwa and set up MORNSUN in Guangzhou in 1998. He worked more than 10 years in Guangzhou and came up with the idea of returning to his hometown and building it. After a field visit, MORNSUN's manufacturing center settled in Haiwa's high-tech zone in 2011, providing more than 2,000 local jobs.
Last year, our revenue was over $250 million, and we expect the growth to be more than 30% to exceed $308 million this year. We will increase by at least 1 to 2 workshops this year, and the number of employees should exceed 3,000.
Mr. Yin, who majored in electronics, pays great attention to independent product research and development. At present, the group owns more than 1,300 intellectual property rights and more than 500 invention patents. Under his leadership, MORNSUN vigorously develops automation equipment research and development projects, increasing the overall efficiency of the company by more than 40%. MORNSUN offers the best products, fast and local service, and efficient pre-sales and after-sales support for clients worldwide.
As a technology-oriented enterprise, MORNSUN focuses on R&D, application of magnetic isolation technology, and power supply products, turning every customer need into its own mission. Relying on 4 R&D centers in Guangzhou, Changsha, Xi'an, and Wuhan, and its global sales network, continuous technological innovation, and customer demand research, MORNSUN has continued to improve power supply technology and worked hand in hand with our customers to face ever-changing technical challenges. From concept to reality, or from a single component to module production, MORNSUN strives for excellence every step of the way. As a strong believer in full automation, MORNSUN continuously expands its production capacity, introduces world-class production lines, independently researches and develops cutting-edge production technologies, focusing on efficient and intelligent production, fundamentally guaranteeing the precision of products, stability of supply, and meeting the increasing capacity demands of customers. MORNSUN adheres to a strict inspection and control process, implementing a completely quality management system and networked and interoperable full process information management platform that exceeds industry standards. Attention to every detail, high efficiency, high performance, and high energy savings are the hallmarks of every MORNSUN's product. MORNSUN created a customer-centric full-service, complete process model that responds to and meets every customer's needs in a timely manner. From product to customer service, MORNSUN always works very hard to provide customer satisfaction with professionalism and dependability to ensure safety and convenience everywhere. MORNSUN, more than reliability.